Hi, my name is Cameron Wilkins. I'm 25. I am a photographer in the Houston area, and my business is Cameron Alexis Photography.
Got it. And definitely appreciate you coming on, sharing some wisdom with us.
Yes, thank you for having me on.
Definitely. Okay, so yeah, starting from the beginning, like, are you from the Houston area? Did you grow up out here?
Yes, so originally born in Humble, and then I've moved around a lot. So I was originally born in Humble, moved to Houston over on I believe it was called like Orange Grove Lane, lived there a few years, then moved to New Caney, then to Porter, then to
Gotcha.
Kingwood, then to
All over Houston,
Magnolia.
really.
Literally, now I'm in spring.
Gotcha. Where'd you go to high school?
Magnolia High School.
Okay. So like more in the city?
Kind of. It started off as a small town whenever I first originally moved there. Now it's like huge. There's people everywhere, traffic everywhere. But when
Gotcha.
I moved there in fifth grade, and so living there during that time, I've literally watched the city just grow. It's insane.
Gotcha. Yeah, same. I'm over in the Katy Cypress area. So when we first came out here after the Katrina hurricane, like
Mhm.
'05, it was literally like cows and pastures and stuff. Like, this whole area kind of got built up over the last few years. It's almost city-like.
Yeah, it's weird. We're just
Uh,
watching everything grow because you remember what it was like before it just became like super city and rural, or not rural, rural is like country, but like
mhm.
urban. It is very weird feeling. Makes me feel old, honestly.
Oh, definitely. It was a time I remember back when I was in like fifth or sixth grade, maybe there was a something happened where it was like cows in my neighborhood, like like behind the
Oh,
neighborhood, there
that's
was like
so.
ranches and stuff. And
Yeah.
somehow they had kind of gotten the neighborhood. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh, I'm jealous. Yeah, I feel that though. And whenever I was going to high school, so there'd always be like these pastures on like your left side and your right side, just filled with
Right.
like cows, horses, bulls, everything. Now you don't have those anymore. Now it's like a
Definitely.
CVS over there. They built like a whole highway. It
Literally.
sucks.
A
It's
school on
sad,
every
actually.
corner. Literally. Okay, so yeah,
Yeah.
kind of paint the picture. Like, what were you like as a kid? Kind of like a young kid, and then kind of take it to high school. Like, what were you into and stuff?
Oh my gosh, I was a weird kid, very creative. So I didn't start to get into photography until like way later in life, like photos and all of that. But I grew up very artistic. I love to draw and paint. My parents like always knew I was a very creative child, so they got me like my own like painting easel. And so I would just draw and paint all the time. It was my favorite thing in the world to do. I don't really draw and paint
Gotcha.
anymore. I haven't in a while, but that's how like my creativity just kind of like started.
Gotcha.
And I had a great childhood overall. I mean, as far as like getting more specifics, my family just like we always went paintballing. We'd always like dig into the ditches and like get like mud bugs, and we
Gotcha.
go four wheeling, like that kind of thing. It was a really fun
Gotcha.
childhood. But
So pretty good, like family foundation, two-parent
oh
household.
yeah, yeah. I mean, my parents are
Gotcha.
divorced now, but yeah, my parents divorced whenever I was 11. So after that point, that's whenever I got step parents. Step parents are both amazing. So yeah, no complaints there. And then fast forward, like all the way into high school, I was on the dance teams. I did a lot of sports growing up too, between dance and cheer. And yeah, senior year, I got out of dance and I just kind of was doing my own thing. But
Gotcha. You
senior
never thought of
year,
like doing dance like for college or anything?
no, oh my God, I don't think I was ever that good.
Gotcha.
That
Okay.
would have
Just
been
kind of
cool
like
though.
something to keep you engaged and stuff during the year.
Yeah. And
Gotcha.
my senior year, that's whenever everybody's doing like senior photos and all that. So
Prom and
my
everything.
aunt was also a photographer, but she never really had like an actual business. It was always just something she did for fun for her friends and family.
Gotcha.
And so I got spoiled with that. I did like 10 different senior sessions. So I
Okay.
got
Just
to
kind of helping her
travel.
out.
Do what?
You're saying just kind of helping her out, or you mean for your own stuff?
Both, I guess, but she just really enjoyed doing it. And so she would just always ask me, "Hey, do you want to go out and take photos today?" And I'd be like, "Absolutely, I do."
Gotcha.
And just because like I love getting dressed up, love doing my hair, makeup, and all of that. And so it was throughout the process of doing so many sessions with her, I was like, this is kind of fun. I like this. Like,
Right.
and she would tell me like all like she would let me use her camera and all that, and I just like grew really intrigued with it. So that following
Gotcha.
Christmas, I told my mom like I really want a camera. So my mom got
And this
me
is
a,
this is your senior year of high school?
yes. So this was back in 2016. God, I'm
Okay.
old. But
Okay, yeah, we same age, same class.
oh really?
Yeah.
Where'd you go to high school?
Side Lakes over in Cypress, Cy-Fair area, Cypress Lakes.
I'm trying to think if I ever went there for drill team. I don't think I did. I know
Yeah,
we
I'm not
played
sure.
it or we danced with Cy-Fair. I don't know about
Okay,
Silence.
gotcha. Okay,
But
so yeah, kind of you know before you get into the photography stuff, like did you have any other ideas or things that you want to do, like going to college or like any other paths you were thinking of or anything?
so yes, I always wanted to be a psychologist. Like that
Okay.
was my biggest thing. I love psychology. Even to say I love psychology, it's just fascinating to me. I love learning about like relationship psychology, the human mind aspect. But I always refused to take classes for psychology because I just kind of like I don't know. At that point in time, I had learned over time like if I really like something, try not to make it into like so much, which is
Mm.
kind of an oxymoron now, try not to make it so much into a job because I don't want to get to a point where I love something so much I end up hating it because it's now
That's an
like
interesting framework because I feel like it's like most people do think the opposite. Like you want to find something you like to make it work so it's not work. But that is interesting
yeah
because it's like if you have like a main thing that you like, but then you have a passion project, it's like I can see where
yeah
it could, you know, charging for it could kind of blur the lines of the passion and everything, definitely.
yeah and I was just always scared to take any psychology classes in high school and like I would always learn that kind of thing on my own time. Yeah, like YouTube, like podcasts. I love podcasts.
Gotcha.
And just stuff like that, audiobooks. But so whenever it came time for college, I originally really wanted to go to Sam Houston, but my parents were like, "Hey, if you actually go to Lone Star, we'll pay for your college." So I was like, "Okay, like I'll
Gotcha.
do that." So I actually ended up going to Lone Star instead. Um, got accepted in the Sam, which is still a big accomplishment to me.
Well,
But
at the point of deciding on Lone Star, like, did you have a path, like, you know, like, you know, maybe just like a
kind
simple
of.
blueprint that you had?
So kind of, I didn't really know what I wanted to do in college. So I changed my minor 3 times, and it was like every single time I changed my minor, it like all the classes basically
Wouldn't count.
yeah, like they didn't intertwine into the next degree. So
Gotcha.
I started off, oh, I can't remember what I think I started off with like communications, public communications, changed
Same
it to
here.
something else. And then like the third one I changed it to was or Associate of Arts. Is that what it is? Something like
Okay.
that. Something with
Gotcha.
arts in it. I know that. And I eventually, so my aunt's in HR, human resources, and she always raised she loves the corporate world, she loves her job and like all this stuff, and I was just like, you know what, like I'll go for HR, like my aunt loves it, I'll probably love it, whatever. So
Gotcha.
that's what I was originally getting my associate of arts in. And anyway, so like the summer before my last semester I was going to get my degree, and once I got that degree I would have been able to start interning for my aunt's company. My
Okay.
aunt said, "Hey, do you want to come and shadow me?" So I was like, "Oh yeah, like I should come shadow you." I shadowed her. I don't know what I thought HR was, but it was not at all what I expected. And so I was just like, I basically went through a whole mental crisis, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't do this. That
And
job
this
is not
that's
for
like right
me, and I'm
before
frustrated."
graduation.
Yeah, and it just put me in a weird mindset of like I've just been spending all this time to go for HR. Now seeing what HR actually is, I don't actually want to do it. And at the time I was working, I'd been at a job for 2 years that I absolutely hated. So I was just going through all kinds of like existential crisis at 20,
Yeah,
21.
and real quick to touch on that too, because you touching on something like part of me doing this is like definitely I want to show examples of people like doing other things, but a
Yeah.
part of it too is like showing the real of it too. Like people have these ideas of like I want to work for myself, but seeing somebody like you working for yourself, there's downsides too, you know. Like
Oh
in
yeah.
a career, you might work 40 hours a week. Your business, you might work
Of
80
course that
hours a
does.
week, you know.
Yeah.
So definitely like to that point, I get that. And like, do you have any advice for people as far as like being in college, like maybe like shadowing people earlier, you know, so you don't
Yeah,
waste
definitely
time?
shadow. Because I wish I would have done that a lot sooner rather than I mean, I think it's a good thing with like hindsight's always 2020. Looking back, I think everything played out exactly how it needed to.
Right.
But in some ways I do wish I would have done all that sooner, because I feel like if I would have done all that sooner, I would have started my business sooner. I could have been a little bit more further along now. And just like a lot of different things. But
Uh,
I ended up dropping out of college ultimately. So I ended up never graduating. I didn't get a degree.
Same here,
Um,
college dropout.
I am a college dropout. And it sucks because I'm also first generation. So
Mhm.
my parents didn't go to college. Most of my family didn't go to, pretty much nobody in my family went to college. Everybody in my family is in trades.
Gotcha,
The only other person who ended up going to college is my cousin Ashley, and she's younger than me, so she went after me. But I would have
gotcha,
been first generation in my family. And so, yeah, I dropped out. And I was like, sorry, mom,
gotcha.
dad. But they were
Dude,
fine with it.
real quick, just before we get too far, because I'm gonna forget definitely. So,
No, you're good. Please ask me
uh,
everything.
like, you know, to what you're saying, because I definitely went through some of that too. Of like, I changed majors maybe 9, 10 times. Like, just
Mm,
because you know I'm learning stuff, I'm realizing like, you know, I want to try this. I go down that path a little bit. I see something else. You know, so going throughout that time, like, would you suggest most kids like before they go to college to spend some time like you know, maybe shadow a few people in some directions that you want to get
yeah.
into. Like,
Yeah, I think especially whether you're a creative mind or not, I think try to find around like 3 to 5 different fields that you think are super interesting and that you have some sort of like potential interest in, and go and shadow those people, talk to them. And because I think I'm the type of person, I'm very hands on. You could tell
definitely
me about something like all day long, just like same thing with my aunt in HR. She told me, she hyped it up. And you know what? That's
sounded
something she
good.
really loves. Yeah, corporate world isn't for everybody. She loves corporate world. That's not for me. And it's very like somebody can hype something up to you, but until you're actually doing it, I think that's when you realize whether that's a path you really want to take. So yeah, definitely try out all the different things before you make a set decision, because it's scary. Like going to
Definitely.
college and having like pretty much only being limited to going down one way, and that's the way that's going to affect the rest of your life. It's a scary thought. And the crazy part is probably like 90% of people that I know that went to college don't even use their degrees. So it's like try out everything.
Preaching to the choir. And definitely,
Yeah,
I
like
didn't mean to
college isn't
interrupt
for
you, but
everybody.
definitely, that's like, I felt like that's something to touch on just because, like, there isn't, like, throughout the, let's say, senior year when you're doing prom and everything, like, you're doing the career counseling type of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I don't remember a time where it was like, let's spend a week or two just interviewing people or shadowing people because it's like you know what I'm saying. I feel like a lot of people could save some money, some time if they
Oh
just
yeah.
spent that 2 weeks before deciding on the college or something. Like you know what I'm saying, kind of get
Mhm.
some real direction before you put some money, some time into a direction, you know. So I mean to interrupt you, but just wanted to touch on that because
No,
that's
you're
definitely
good. And even touch on that a little further, because I ended up going to community college and not university. I have no student debt, so that's also a plus. I go to community college first, just in case you end up dropping
so.
out.
Oh yeah, that's a gem, definitely. Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, kind of take me through that. Like you did the you shadowed her a little bit, realized it wasn't for you. What was like you dropped out? Kind of take me through that.
Yeah, so I dropped out and I ended up not going. Well, okay, so whenever I dropped out, I was also in the mindset of I'm going to drop out for now and go back in the spring semester. That didn't end up happening. But during around that same time that I shadowed my aunt, within like a couple weeks, I ended up quitting my job. And it was just like so much like to juggle. And then on top of that, I had like my own personal stuff going on. And it was just a lot. So I was going through it. And
Gotcha.
I didn't tell my parents at first that I dropped out of college. It wasn't until like 2 months into that fall semester. Because I talked to my parents every day. So
So you was
me
like
not
on the
ever
low.
talking about college. Yeah, my parents got to a point where they were like, "Hey, like, how's classes? Like, how's that going?" And like that. And then I finally ended up telling them, like, yeah, I dropped out. I didn't even end up like paying for any class this semester.
Did you
Also
use
another
like
thing, like you
financial
know,
aid money? Like, did you use it for anything?
no. So my parents did pay for my very first semester going to Lone Star, but the rest I paid for.
Gotcha.
So yeah, and like I tried to sign up for financial aid, they denied me. I was very
Heard
sad
that.
about that. I was like, okay,
Heard.
yeah.
Gotcha.
But I within not even a week, I would say within a few days of quitting my job at the time, my family actually told me like, hey, you should pursue photography again. By this point, I hadn't picked up my camera in anywhere between like 8 months to a year. Like it had been a while. Because also like backtracking a little bit, whenever I got my first camera for Christmas of 2016, for like the next 3 years, 3.5 years, I was constantly like photographing friends and family, but it was purely hobby. Like there was
Gotcha.
no money involved or anything. It was just like for
Just
fun.
for fun, definitely.
Yeah. And so my family was like, you should pick up your camera again, but get back into photography. And I was like, it's been like almost a year. I don't even know how to really work my camera like that and like whatever. But I also have a lot of entrepreneurs in my family, and during this time my dad had just opened up his business like a few years prior, and he was basically like, screw it, like just do it. So then I got into the
What does
mindset
that
of,
do?
okay, I'll try it. Do what?
What does that do?
He owns a plumbing business out in Katy, actually.
Gotcha.
So if you know where
Okay.
Airline Drive
Heard
is, that's where his
that.
business is.
Okay, shout out Pops. And
Yeah.
also too, like while you're touching on that, like talk about like how'd your parents react to you dropping out? Like was it tough, like, dealing with the parent judgment of it, or was it, were they
No.
supportive kind of thing?
So I didn't tell my parents about it because I thought they'd be disappointed because I was first generation. And so I was scared to tell them about it. And my parents, they're really cool, chill people. But I was just more so like, I didn't want them to be disappointed in me because I know they were super proud of me, even like getting into college in the first
I didn't
place.
want to let them down.
Yeah, and so once it finally came to a point where I told them about it, they were totally okay with it. Because by the end of the day, like
Gotcha.
again, like all my family's in trades, and they pretty much told me like if you were to work at McDonald's for the rest of your life, and that's what makes you genuinely happy, do what makes you happy. Because my parents are also the type of people of you have one life to live, live a good life, and all stuff. So I'm
Gotcha.
very fortunate that I have supportive parents, and they always just kind of knew who I was growing up, and no matter what path I took, they knew I was gonna end up making something out of it.
Gotcha. Heard that,
Yeah.
and definitely shout out to your parents and everything, because I feel like, it's definitely like, it's circumstantial. People have different circumstances, like how they grew up
Yeah.
and stuff. So, being able, because a lot of parents do have that mentality of like, if you're not in college, what are you gonna do? Like what
Yeah.
else? Like what else are you gonna do? I want you to be good, So it's like I'm glad that you had that kind of like support of
Mm.
like people that knew that there were other things you could do.
Yeah. And like my dad's like my biggest person that I look up to because my dad dropped out his seventh grade year. So he barely went to junior high, didn't even go to high school.
Mm,
And just seeing like where he's come over the years, that's what's like truly inspired me the most. I'm like, if my dad can make it, anybody can make it.
right.
Honestly, there are no excuses in life.
Oh, that's dope. Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, kind of keep going with the painting the picture. You got out of college, you picked up the camera, people pushed you towards it again. Kind of, take
Yeah.
me through that a little bit.
So the whole first year, I pretty much made nothing. I really just spent my entire first year doing free sessions, building up my portfolio. And I was kind of working at the time. I was doing DoorDash, so like any money I made for DoorDash, like that was going towards bills. And like in some way trying to upgrade. Or actually, hold on, let me backtrack on that for a second. So yes,
Okay,
I was doing DoorDash, and like all that money was just going straight to bills. So that way, I could focus as much as my time on photography and like marketing and advertising and all of that. And there did come a point with my little Nikon, it just completely gave up. So my aunt, who is a photographer, by this point she had completely retired, and she like was moving on to other things. And so whenever I told her my camera had given out on me, she was like, "Hey, like I have this little Canon Rebel, like it's a 10-year-old camera." She was like, "I don't know how great it's going to be for you, but it has a good lens and it'll keep you going until like it just you can't work with it
gotcha.
anymore." And so I was like, okay, so I worked with the little Canon Rebel for, oh, I don't even know, probably like a year, year and a half until that camera eventually died because by the day it's technology, like
Gotcha.
it has a lifespan.
Are
And
are cameras pretty like durable, or like how long would you say a good camera will last?
I'm very rough with my cameras. So
Okay,
I don't treat them like babies, unfortunately. I need to be better.
gotcha.
But just knowing how I treat my cameras, they can be really durable. I think the biggest thing, don't drop them. Do not drop them. I don't drop mine, luckily, but I have dropped a couple of my lenses and I've thrown the calibration off on them. And
They don't make
yeah,
like out of boxes or anything for a camera?
no,
Okay.
they do if you want to put your camera like underwater, but I don't do underwater
Gotcha.
photography. But I think if I were ever do that, I'd probably just get a GoPro.
Heard. Okay,
Yeah,
so yeah, kind of like because you said you did it for a year, kind of not charging or anything, just doing it for free kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
did you have a direction at that point? Like, did you know you wanted to do weddings, or was it kind of just like wherever you could shoot kind of thing?
So during this point in time, no, I did not want to do weddings. I was absolutely no weddings. I am strictly family, couples. I was doing newborn photography at the time. I won't do newborn photography now.
Okay.
No offense to
Yeah,
anybody.
that
I
sounds like a headache.
Yeah, newborns aren't my thing. Love
Gotcha.
kids, love babies. I don't like photographing them. But I had actually so during the time that I was just doing photography as a hobby, I photographed a wedding that I don't remember who had recommended me to go. I think it might have been my aunt or my cousin or somebody. And so they knew I was complete beginner and all that. They weren't expecting anything big out of me. But the bride ended up just being complete bridezilla. I was at that wedding for I think 15 hours, didn't eat anything all day, didn't have a break. Like it
Jeez.
was terrible. The bride ended up making me cry. Like it was just overall worst wedding. It was my very first wedding too.
Like
So
was that your first time getting paid for photography?
she did end up paying me about $300.
For a
Which
15-hour
looking back,
day?
I'm like, man, I got ripped off.
The
But
15-hour day?
yeah, it was terrible, and I still had to go back home and edit all the photos, and it was not a fun time. And it was after that point I was basically like, screw weddings. I'm never gonna do weddings again. And so yeah, for a long time I just steered away from weddings. If I ever got asked to do them, I just said no, and I would refer them to like a different photographer. Um,
Okay, so yeah, what kind of stuff were you doing like during that year or two, like before you actually started getting business going and stuff?
uh, couples, so just like regular couple sessions, engagement sessions, families, like uh I say children, but more specifically, like cake smashes, first birthday photos, stuff like that.
Gotcha. And these are all people that you knew, or like were you doing any marketing type of stuff?
They were all mass majority of that time. Yes, it was people I knew, so that way I could help like build my portfolio and be able to advertise someday in the show out. Plus, it was
Gotcha.
really good practice.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, kind
Yeah.
of take me through like what was like the first besides the wedding, like what else was like the first sort of few things that you got paid for where you felt like, all right, this could be a business. Like,
So once I got to a point where I was starting to really like my editing style and I was starting to get a little bit more comfortable directing people, that's whenever I started charging, and I believe it was $100. And I was I was
okay,
charging $100 and giving back I think like 80 photos, which is insane. But that's what I was doing. And I did that for probably around like 6 to 8 months. And then I will say I'm very fortunate that I do have a great amount of friends. I have a great community. Because also during this time I was still living in Magnolia, and so I knew a lot of people. So my
gotcha,
name was getting around pretty well, and so it got to a point I was starting to get almost too many people to where I couldn't keep up, especially with having to edit 80 photos and doing like just getting paid $100. It was starting to get to a point like I'm doing so much work for very little pay. So then I upped my prices. I don't even know. I think 250, and then I lowered my image count to I think like 50 photos. So now at this point I'm a little over a year, maybe right around a year into my business.
okay,
So now I'm charging 250, giving back 50 photos. And yeah, and from there my name just kept spreading around, kept growing. And
gotcha,
so like I every year I set a goal for myself. So my first year was building my portfolio, marketing, advertising, just getting my name out there. My goal for my second year was networking. But I during my second year I didn't network the way I was supposed to. Over time I've kind of learned like, oh, like I networked good enough, but I didn't network the way that I network now. So during
gotcha,
that second year, I was doing more styled shoots, networking with other vendors, which also in turn helped get my name around and put me on some people's vendors list and all of that. And then going on to my third year, by this point, I'm charging 375 and giving back 30 photos. And my goal for that year was okay, so at some point during my like end of my second year, I photographed a wedding with another photographer and it ended up being a phenomenal wedding. I had the best
Okay.
experience and that's where kind of like my mind shifted like, oh, I think I just kind of had like a
A
dud of a
bad
wedding my very
experience.
first one. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so after photographing that second wedding with another photographer, I was just like, okay, I think I kind of like the wedding world, but I'm gonna dip my toes in it a little bit. So going into my third year, that's whenever I decided I want to start shifting more into wedding photography. And so I got signed on with a company called Emily Chappelle Productions, and they basically like give me weddings. So I'm an associate shooter under them. And so
Gotcha.
they'll put I'm like on a team with like 80 other photographers. So it's like a huge group of us. But
So they kind of
essentially
do
they'll
like, you
do
got it. Go
what?
ahead. You got it.
Oh, but essentially they'll just like give us weddings. We can choose to pick up weddings and stuff like that. And that's where I really learned a lot. There's a lot that goes into wedding photography that people don't realize that I never realized. And to say I'm so fortunate. I've been working with Emily Chappelle Productions for over a year now. And I'm very fortunate to be on their team. They are amazing. I absolutely love them. They've taught me more experience in the wedding world than I could ever even begin to imagine. So
Gotcha.
they really helped kickstart a lot of my weddings because with it, I don't edit the galleries, but I can still keep the wedding galleries for portfolio. So that also
Gotcha.
helps build my portfolio too.
Okay, so yeah, we'll definitely go into that a little bit. But before that part, like just at like $100 a shoot and stuff like that, like were you pulling in consistent money or like was it hit or miss kind of thing, or how consistent was it early on?
It started getting more consistent, I would say around 5 and 6 months until doing it. And or no, maybe even further than that, because I don't think I was even charging around that time. Maybe around like 8 months. Because I
Okay.
kept at the $100, not a super long time, maybe I don't know. My timeline is so
Yeah,
messed
it's
up.
all good.
I would say around a few months until I got to a point where I was consistently shooting. And yeah,
Okay, so yeah, during that time, like just that 100, like what was like a good week or a good month you had just charging that, like
like how many shoots I was pulling within that same week or
or
month.
more like to motivate people, more like, I was only getting paid $100, but I was able to pull in this much one week or one month, like
Oh, it wasn't a ton. At the time, it seemed like a lot. I would say I would pull in at best around like 500 a week. And yeah, because I know I've always been good about capping myself. The
like
only
time
time
wise.
yeah, like capping myself with how many sessions I do weekly. The only time
Gotcha.
I kind of didn't start to cap myself was like this past busy season. And that enough for me was like, this is why I cap myself and why I don't go over a certain limit of sessions per week and like all that. But yeah, I would say I did around like 4 or 5 sessions a week and did that consistently for a few months until I upped my prices. And then that's whenever, even then, I was still doing at minimum like 3 sessions a week, but I was making more money. So it was
Gotcha.
worth it.
Definitely. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that too, just because like, early on people like it's hard to get the feedback of knowing that you're doing the right things
Mm.
immediately in business. So it's like you may spend 8 or 9 months making money here or there before it starts getting consistent. So it's for me, I appreciate you sharing that just because I feel like, people just want to see like the next step up. Like you
Yeah.
don't have to be making $1 million a year, but just the next step
Mm.
up from where they are is like that's motivating to people. So definitely
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Because people, yeah, they want to see progress quick. And I'm the type of person, I'm impatient. I want to see progress as soon as possible. But being in photography, it's taught me you really have to trust the process, like
Mm,
100%.
gotcha.
And yeah,
So
I think
yeah,
that goes for any business, though. You're not going to see results right then and there. It
right,
takes a lot of hard work behind the scenes.
definitely. And yeah, I appreciate you sharing that again. But yeah, kind of like on that too, like before you got signed or started working with the company, like what core things would you say were you doing like marketing wise that actually were working, like things, consistent things that were pulling in clients?
Posting, posting all the time. So, and that goes for making normal posts. Like, and I've always been on Facebook and Instagram. I tried Twitter, but
Okay.
Twitter's just not personally my thing. But I was always trying to post every single day, with just like posting my work. And then as far as stories go, posting like what the photo looks like raw. Also, if you see black paint, I was painting a mirror, so ignore
Okay.
that. Um, so posting like the raw photo versus the edited photo, and raw just means unedited, like straight
Gotcha.
out of camera. So always posting those. I trying to get some sort of behind the scenes. So like while I'm physically shooting, I'm also holding up my phone. I have a little mount on my camera now to where I don't have to always hold my phone, but
Gotcha.
I would be holding a camera and holding my phone like this and shooting plus recording. And so posting that, and because people would like to see you actually working and see what the process looks like. And
Like
I
day in the
think the
lifestyle
more,
content.
yeah, and I think the biggest thing, and I need to take my own advice now because the further I've gone along in business, the kind of less I've gotten off social media.
Hmm.
When it should just be the opposite. I need to have the same drive as I did the first year. But the more I'm on social media, the more clients I get, the more inquiries I get.
Gotcha. And like, would you say like how much would you post? Were you posting, like a week, a day kind of thing?
I always try to post daily, even on weekends.
So at
And
least once a
now,
day.
yes, at least once a day, whether it's a normal post, and even if you have like nothing like a physical post to post. I keep saying that word, I'm sorry. At least posting on your stories. And another thing that I highly recommend to everybody that's really personally hard for me to do, because my dad's always drilled in my head, keep your personal life and your business life separate. I think as a photographer, it's a very personal field. So you always, I'm really good about connecting with my clients on a very deep, like friendship level, if it allows. I always read the room. Some people don't like
Gotcha.
that. So, but I have made a lot of friends with my clients over the years. And my dad's always drilled into me, keep your personal life and your business life separate. Because photography is such a personal field, you want to be posting your personal life. So like I just got a guinea pig 3 days ago.
Okay.
Everybody on my personal page knows that, but nobody on my photography page knows that. And that's
Gotcha.
something that as like it sounds so small and stupid and little, but my clients and my potential clients want to see that. They want to see, okay, she's not just a photographer. She loves guinea pigs. Oh, she also has cats. Oh, she loves to go to the movies. These are kind of movies she likes to watch. Like, oh, she loves coffee, that kind of thing. Like they want to be able to see who you are, not only as like a business person, but who you are as a genuine everyday person. Because that's how people
Gotcha.
connect with you. Because they're trusting you, especially going into the wedding field. It's big. Like they're literally trusting you with their lifelong memories, like on such a big day. So they want to make sure they're hiring somebody that they can connect with
That
and get
feels
along with.
right.
Yeah. And
All
so
that
that's
stuff.
so something I'm trying to learn and trying to get out of the habit of is posting my personal life, because I have a lot of friends in the industry and they're amazing about posting their personal life on their business page, and they get nothing but positive feedback. Their businesses just continue to grow and grow and grow.
Gotcha.
And again, I know it sounds so small and like weird, but I do feel like in a lot of ways, if I was more transparent about my personal life, my business would probably be a lot bigger than what it is now.
No, yeah, I can definitely see that, like especially in photography, because there's like, I can see like even because you do weddings, but like more so in like the influencer space kind of thing is probably more like that as far as like personal connection. Because like, I see tons of people that are like, I don't want to get too much into it, but I'm sure that that matters because there's, people want to feel comfortable, people don't want to feel sketched out, and like they want to
Yeah,
trust that like if they work with you, they'll have a good experience, sort of thing. So I can see that. And
yeah.
also on the Facebook thing, like, have you had any success with Facebook posting and everything?
Yeah, so it's so funny. For the longest time, I used to never get clients through Instagram. Like, I would get likes, and my reach on Instagram still isn't amazing. I think it could be better. But for the first, probably, yeah, probably the first 3 years, my clientele was pretty much strictly coming from Facebook. And then within the past year, because I'll be in business, July will be 4 years. So I would
Okay,
say over
congrats
the
on that.
past year, thank you. Over the
Oh,
past year, all my clients pretty much are coming strictly from Instagram. And I'm still getting some clients from Facebook, but it's not near as much as it used to be. It's now changed to where my reach on Instagram is getting bigger. And that's where I'm getting
gotcha.
more of my clientele from.
Okay, yeah. Do you have any tips as far as like posting on Facebook or, compared to Instagram kind of thing?
Facebook's hard. Connect your socials. So I think maybe everybody knows this. I don't know. But what I do now is I don't spend a whole lot of time on Facebook anymore. But whatever I post on Instagram, it automatically gets posted on my Facebook. So I almost
Gotcha.
don't even need to think twice about it. So whatever post I make on Instagram, it automatically transfers to my Facebook, whether it's post or story. And
Gotcha.
so, as pretty much as active as I'm being on Instagram, it's translating back to Facebook. So I think that helps a lot because it makes it to where because before I turned that feature on, I was constantly, okay, posting on Instagram, doing all the hashtags, caption, whatever, and then repeating all that back to Facebook.
Hmm.
Now it's just like a one-way stop, and it's honestly so much easier.
Gotcha. Any tips on hashtags or anything too?
Hashtags are weird. So Instagram hates me. I get shadow banned all the time. I do know now. Um, don't if you're gonna do hashtags, don't do a plethora of hashtags. So try not to do more than like say 10 hashtags. Um, I always do shoot for trendy hashtags, but I've also been told by some other content creators like you don't want to do that. Maybe like doing one or two like super trendy hashtags, but try to do smaller hashtags.
Gotcha. Like you use like a lot of the Houston type of hashtags, Houston
Yeah.
photography, Houston. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's like the main ones I use.
Definitely. So yeah, besides posting, do you do any other sort of core marketing things like business cards, flyers, or anything?
Um, no. So every now and then I'll do fundraisers for events. I have a lot of younger siblings. I'm the oldest of eight. So I have done photography for like their school events. Um, but and like it does help with getting your name out there. I won't say it's been like made a huge difference in my business, but I mean it does help some. And I think
Gotcha.
it's just overall good with just getting your name out there, especially in the community.
Gotcha. But mostly posting is like where it drives the traffic, clients and stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. And another thing, if you do any sort of event or wedding, tag the vendors. Tag other vendors, tag the location, like the venue that you're at. Later just do as much tagging as you can because if you tag
Gotcha.
those people, the likelihood of them sharing and reposting your work, it just continues to further your audience.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, kind of like firstly, I haven't heard much about like the kind of companies you were describing, the lady that you work for. The
Emily Chappelle. Yeah,
Yeah, so
she's
yeah.
really big out in Dallas.
Okay, so yeah, I'm not even really sure. Like, kind of break down what that business is, and then like how they help you.
So they have okay, so it's kind of a lot. I'll try to summarize it
And
best I
yeah,
can.
also, and how you kind of got into it, just the whole little spiel.
So Emily just randomly found me on Instagram one day. She sent me a DM. I thought it was a scam, but I was just like, I'll see it through. And so she reaches out and she was like, "Hey, I really love your work." Biggest reason why I thought it was a scam, and to this day I'm still very surprised I even got the job, was because Emily, when you look at her portfolio, she has beautiful photography. But she's very traditional, light and airy, that kind of photography. My photography is the absolute complete opposite. I'm more moody. I try to do very documentary. I'll still do some traditional, but for most part, I try to keep my stuff very documentary, like in the moment, candid, if you will. And so whenever she reached out to me, I remember going through her portfolio and being like, our stylists don't line up, but like I'll do it, whatever. And because she had also told me like what all like the job would entail. And I was like, okay, like I'd never heard of anything like that before. But I was like, I'll try it out.
So
And
it was just like a job posting type of thing? Like she sent you an offer for a job type of thing?
kind of, yeah. And but I didn't actually start fully shooting with her until a few months after the fact. So it is like I did have to fill out like a whole job application. I had to go through HR. I had to fill out a W-2,
Gotcha.
um, like all of that. It's insane. I do get, I don't know if it's so much benefits, but I do have a 401k through them. So it
Okay.
is like having like a straight up legit job. I am on payroll. I get paid bi-weekly from them.
Gotcha.
And so like I only get paid for every wedding or engagement session that I do through them. If I go like 3 months without doing anything through them, then that's 3 months I'm not getting paid by them type of thing. So it's
So if
very much like
you
a contractor type of work.
gotcha, kind of like a modeling agency, like if you pull stuff in yourself, you keep it. If they pull it in, they take a percentage.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So basically how it works is there's like industry standards. So for example, if I just photographed a wedding on Saturday. If I decided last minute, oh my gosh, I can't photograph this wedding for whatever reason, but let's take my friend Caleb for instance. He's a photographer, videographer. If I wanted him to like jump in for me, if he's able to, industry standard for a lead photographer, because that's what he'd be doing is leading the wedding for me, is 800. But depending on their experience and skill, it now will be like minimum like around 1,000. And there's like a few other factors that go into it, but basically, but off that wedding, I made in total 3 grand off of it. But I'd be taking $800 and giving it to him. So that's kind of how it is for me under Emily Chappelle Productions.
Okay, so
So I'm basically like associate shooting for them.
gotcha, and they do like a lot of marketing, like bring leads and stuff for you.
Not so much that. So I have gotten a lot of clientele through working weddings for them. I am a very like personable person, so I think just within my personality that helps a lot. So whenever I'm working weddings through them, normally I'll like hang out with the bride, hang out with the groom, just like anybody that's there and just talk to them. And I would say like 99% of the time I end up hitting it off with most people. So that's really helped with getting me more clientele through it. But Emily Chappelle Productions doesn't directly give me leads, if that
Gotcha.
makes any sense.
Yeah.
So like they will book me out for their weddings about 2 to 3 months in advance. And so they'll give me like dates like, hey, there's a wedding for this date, this date, this date, this date. It's gonna be for these venues. Here are the clients' names and that kind of thing. And so
Gotcha.
by that point, I can choose to accept all the events. I can choose to accept like one, two, or three. And yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, on that, like, would you advise or like recommend that type of thing like to other photographers, like getting involved, like shooting under bigger photographers to kind of supplement income kind of thing, help out, bring clients and stuff like that?
100%. And even if, because like working with Emily, income wise, I don't technically need them income wise. I'm very fortunate to say that. But experience wise, I think income wise, it's amazing because I do make great money from them. But my biggest thing working with them is the experience because
Gotcha.
I've learned if I never worked under Emily Chappelle, I would probably mental or not mentally, but like knowledge wise, as far as weddings go, I would be set back probably about a year behind. So
Gotcha.
just getting all because I shoot about probably around 4 to 5 weddings a month for them.
Mm.
Being able to get all of the knowledge and practice, and just also like being able because with wedding days you have to be able to hold conversation. Like that is a very big skill I've had to learn in this industry. Is being able to hold conversation, being able to read the room, and being able to get along with so many different personalities, no matter because you're hit with something new every wedding. You do not get like a heads up, like, hey, this is a
Gotcha.
type A bride. Hey, this is really mean mother-in-law or like whatever. Like
Gotcha.
you do
Kind of got to
not
adjust
know
on the
any of that ahead
fly.
of time. Yeah, so there's a bunch of different things that go into it, but I
Gotcha.
think overall working under a company where they're able to give you that opportunity, there's a lot of benefits to it. And I
Heard
also
that.
just recently signed on with another company late in January called Like a River Productions. So I'll be shooting with them starting in July.
Okay.
And
So
yeah,
yeah, definitely we'll be looking out for some of that content. Hopefully some new
Yeah.
shoots and stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And I
on
think,
that too. What are you saying?
oh, nothing. You
Oh,
go.
okay. Yeah, there's a little delay with the Zoom and stuff. Any other marketing things you could think of that have helped you, like that we haven't touched on, things that have like led to clients?
I think just getting to know your community. So I think I grew up very competitive. I'm a competitive person by nature, but being in this field, community over competition is a very, very big thing. And you really have to learn. And I'm not proud to say I was competition over community at first, but I've had to learn over time, like most photographers, I mean, there's like bad seeds in every industry, but most photographers genuinely want to help each other. And that's a really, honestly, truly amazing thing because I've seen a lot of fields throughout my life so far. And I feel like more people are against each other rather than wanting to help each other. But I've made so many friends in the industry, and being able to have those connections have truly led me into having so many open door opportunities that I never thought I'd be able to have just from getting to know other photographers or other
Gotcha.
vendors. Yeah, so that is another really big marketing thing to have. And I'm not saying make friends with people just to like help better your business.
But no,
Make
it's
friends with people
business
because
though.
you genuinely
You
want
should be
to.
networking with people in your community that do similar things to you. That's just
Yeah.
general business practices.
Yeah. Cause like another thing with the photography world, there not a lot of people understand it or get it. So being able to have like your own community of friends that truly understand and get like we're all going through the same thing. Versus like my other friends who are either in real estate or whatever, they're not gonna understand like what I'm talking about. Same thing
Right.
as like my best friend that's in real estate. She's gonna be talking about a bunch of different things. It's gonna go through one ear out the other. I'm not gonna know what she's talking about.
Gotcha.
So I think just having your own community, yes, it helps with marketing, but it also helps with like your mental also because it is like I come across a lot of people, I meet a lot of people, but I would say about 80% of my job, I'm at home behind a computer. And the other
Gotcha.
20% is me actually getting out and shooting and meeting people.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, definitely appreciate you sharing all of that. Any good stories, any good cool experiences come from doing photography? I saw you travel a lot.
So I just recently started traveling. You know what's so funny is I was just telling you like every year set a goal for myself. So 2024, to go absolutely full time into weddings and to travel. So back in New Jersey or back in January, I went to New Jersey for an engagement session. I'll be going back to New Jersey in October for their wedding. I believe it's October, it might be November. But regardless, so I'll be going to New Jersey twice this year. My first time
Okay.
going to New Jersey. I absolutely loved it. Oh my gosh, I love New Jersey. It's so great.
Oh,
And
that's
then
dope.
last month, I took a road trip to Utah with a group of photographers. And that was the funnest experience of my life. I absolutely loved it. We traveled through New Mexico, Colorado, a couple other states, and then Utah.
Taking
It was my
photos the
first
whole
time.
way.
Yeah, it was so
Oh,
much
that's
fun.
dope.
It was my first time going to New Mexico, but we mostly traveled through New Mexico at night, so I couldn't like really experience that. Colorado, it was my fifth time going to Colorado, so that was a new experience, but I love Colorado. But it was my first
Gotcha.
time going to Utah, and it was ethereal. I loved Utah. I want to go back to Utah again so bad. And then next month I'm going to Hawaii for work, and which I'm a little spoiled with because I do also have a cousin that lives in Hawaii. It's my first time
Gotcha.
going, but I'll be staying with her while I'm down there in Honolulu. So I basically get a free stay, which is really
Oh,
nice.
that's dope.
Yeah.
Do clients like do that, like offer that like paid travel and stuff as far as like for traveling for engagements and stuff for weddings?
Yes. So as far as like going to New Jersey and Hawaii so far, they do pay for my travel.
That's
So
dope.
they'd be paying for my tickets and my stay as well.
Cool, cool. Do you ever like do anything while you're out there? Like go, experience the scenery and stuff while you're doing shoots?
It's hard when you don't have a car.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's the only like hard part is like not having your own vehicle. because I do like to drive. So if I have my own vehicle while being down there, I mean, I could Uber everywhere, and typically I do, but it's just also hard not having your own vehicle. So being in New Jersey, I did travel around a little bit. We did go to Pennsylvania for part of the shoot, which was really cool because I still got to see quite a bit. Being in Hawaii, I'll be with my cousin, so I'm sure I'll be able to travel around a bit. And then July I'll be going to New Orleans, but I'll be with another photographer for that. So I
Gotcha.
don't know how that's really gonna go yet. I'm excited for it, but I don't really know like travel wise how that's gonna work.
Gotcha. Well, definitely good luck with the travels, safe travels and everything.
Thank you.
Definitely. Okay, and any just random funny stories, mess up type of, bad experiences, maybe funny stories. I don't know.
Oh God, I feel like I have 1,000. I don't even know how to pinpoint it.
Any good ones?
Um,
If not,
I
it's
feel like the
cool.
whole experience is great. Like it has its stressful parts, 100%. I feel like every job does, but overall, photography is amazing. I literally could not
Gotcha.
be more blessed and grateful for a better job.
Gotcha.
But
Well, it's all good if not. Just, if something comes to mind, jump in.
I have a few things coming to mind. I'm just like, should I share those things? I don't know.
Why not?
Nah, there's certain things I can't
Okay.
share. I have to keep
Cool.
this
We'll keep it
hush.
moving. We keep
But
moving. It's all good.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, besides that, like to motivate people and stuff, like kind of share like, as much as you feel comfortable, like what's like, like what should people expect or what can they expect if they got into photography? Like, you can make a good living doing photography, like
Hmm.
share like a good month you might have had doing photography off weddings and stuff like, just like to motivate
Talk about
somebody.
income wise.
Yeah,
So the most I've made so far in a month is 15,000, and most of my money has came from doing weddings. Um,
gotcha.
so I know like with newborns you can make great money, and like other fields you can make great money. I just know for me, wedding wise, the mass majority of my income has come from doing weddings. So yeah, so far my biggest month has been 15,000. The
Oh,
lowest I can absolutely expect to make in a month is 9, which is still great. I love it. I'm very fortunate.
well, that's dope.
Um, yeah, I've spoiled myself enough to where I'm like, I don't think like if photography ever came to a point where it just like crashed and burned, I don't think I could ever go back to it at this point.
Nah,
But it's a lot of hours. Like I never stop working. Like I kind of so I'm a very big family and friend person. So no matter how busy I get, so like say if my mom were to hit me up right now and say, "Hey, like let's go on a girls' date tomorrow around noon," I'll be like, if I'm able to, like tomorrow right now, realistically, I wouldn't be able to. But say like I had the open day, um, I'd be like, okay, yes, like let's do that. I would then make the conscious decision to stay home all day and just get an absolute crap ton of work done. Like just stay behind my computer, put my phone on do not disturb, have like a podcast or a show playing on the background, and I am just knocking out like I'll set little goals for myself, like I'm gonna edit 500 photos today, do some contracts, do any meetings if I need to do any meetings,
gotcha.
and do all that. Just like hit a bunch of things off my to do list because I'm normally pretty good about mapping out my week, like what I need to be doing each day. But if I know my mom wants to hang out with me the next day, then I'll do everything that I had on my to do list that day and the next day, combine it all in one, just so I'm able to go hang out with my mom. So I think
Gotcha.
learning time management is a huge thing because I will always make friends or make time for my friends and family.
As you should. As you should.
Yeah, I love them. They're truly the best people in my life. So, and it does suck because I still do miss a lot of events with friends and family. Weekends, I am a slave. I can't
I'm
do
sure.
anything on the weekend.
Photography, I'm sure.
Sucks. Yeah, and if I ever do want to plan something on the weekend, like a trip with my friends, I'm not joking. We have to plan it 4 or 5 months in advance at the very minimum.
Gotcha.
Like, and even right now, my weekends, August through December, are completely booked. I can't plan anything during those. Right now, I can plan stuff the last weekend of June, any weekend July, and like the first weekend of August.
Gotcha. So definitely
So
time
it's just
management
like,
is something to focus on as a photographer.
yeah, yeah. Especially if you go into wedding photography, you will be a slave to weekends.
Heard
So,
that. Heard it
and I'm
here.
planning on being in this field for at least 10 years. So it's gonna be at
Definitely.
least 10 years of it.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. Any well kind of to kind of wrap up a little bit, like if you like for somebody just starting out, like if you had to start from scratch, like everything you know now, like kind of, narrow it down to like, what core things would you tell somebody to focus on to kind of like shorten the time frame, get them to making good money, pretty much as fast as possible, kind of eliminate, as many mistakes as you could for them.
Um, Such a good question. I would say hone down. You're talking about photography wise, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Uh, really try to hone in on your editing style and your shooting style. Because when I first started out, I didn't realize those were even a thing, but they are two very massive things whenever it comes to portfolio and how you go about doing your photography. So just figuring out how do you like to edit? Do you need to buy presets to help kind of jumpstart you to getting to that certain editing style? And what kind of photos draw? So, like, I like the very documentary, candid type of photos. Some people like the very traditional, super pose, always looking at the camera, smiling type of photos. And that's great. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but it's figuring out which style you like. There's a bunch of different styles, so I'm like kind of just narrowing it, but
Gotcha.
figuring it out and really sticking to that, because I think once you can hone down your editing style and your shooting style, it makes it a lot easier portfolio wise and for people to figure out whether they truly want to hire you and work with you, just based off your portfolio alone. But and on top of that, shadow as many people as you can in the type of photography field that you want to strive for. Because the longer you can be in that field and learn more about it, the more it just kind of jumpstarts you. Because had I started weddings 3 years ago, whenever I first started my photography business, I'd be a lot further. So I've already seen a massive amount of progress just within the past year. I can't even imagine where I'd be at had I been at
Doing
this
that in the
rate for
beginning.
3 years. Yeah.
Definitely. So yeah,
So
I definitely appreciate you sharing that because definitely like my whole thing with doing this is just like maybe everything isn't useful for everybody, but hopefully like you tune in enough weeks, you click on enough clips that something is helpful for you. So definitely I feel like that's helpful to know. Like, I started doing photography, just doing everything. I kind of narrowed down to weddings. That helped me. I narrowed down more so onto my niche of weddings and like that's helpful for people, so definitely I appreciate that.
yeah, of course.
Cool. And anything
Yeah.
else maybe I didn't touch on that you want to touch on, anything cool you want to highlight or anything?
Ooh, I don't know. I feel like we touched on a lot. I have so many cool stories. I don't even know what to like touch on with that, but
Oh yeah, we can
yeah,
always do
and
a
it's a
part
very
two or
fun
something.
field, and I recommend it to everybody.
Gotcha, heard that. So yeah, cool. Just to wrap up the show, any entrepreneurs in Houston that you know personally that you want to shout out?
Ooh, I gotta shout out my friends because I love them. The first one being Caleb Nimmons. So he's actually my business partner. He's a wedding photographer and videographer. He is phenomenal. If you interview him, you'd love him.
Definitely would love
Um,
to have them. Shout out Caleb.
yeah. And then there's also, she's not Houston based, she's actually Tennessee based. But my other photographer friend, Lily, Instagram handle, oh my gosh, what is it? It's like captured by Lily, I believe.
Okay.
She's also very phenomenal. She's a mom of two, very sweet girl. Entrepreneur wise, like outside of photography, my dad, you'd have a very fun conversation with him. My dad has a very, very cool story.
Would love to
Um,
have him on as well. Definitely if you want to connect us, I appreciate it.
I got you. Yeah, I'll send you over his information. His name is Todd
Appreciate it.
Wilkins. Love that man to death. And yeah, my papa also owns a plumbing business.
Okay.
And yeah,
Yeah,
and
shout
then
out the
my
family. Shout out all the peeps, man.
No, but literally, I'm trying to think, like trying to run through all the entrepreneurs I
Anybody
know right
else?
now. I'm like, I'm like thinking of some, but then like my mind's also going blank.
Well, I got you, but yeah, that's dope, and definitely, if they want to come on, I'd definitely love to have them. But yeah, besides that, any advice for a high school junior or senior, even like a college freshman or something that's like, trying to figure out their career path? They maybe have some interest in entrepreneurship, maybe not. They're just kind of figuring it out. Any advice as far as like narrowing it down?
Um, don't be hard on yourself if college is not your thing. That was something I really struggled with before I came to the final decision of fully dropping out. Was, oh, all of my friends are going to college and getting their degrees and university and like college parties and like all of that. Like they're getting the full experience that we've all talked about in high school. And now here I am about to get my degree. I'm about to drop out, or I'm like on the verge of dropping out. I was really hard on myself for a little bit on that. And I'm really glad I wasn't so hard on myself to the point where I stuck with it. Otherwise, I feel like I would be on it. I think it's very important to stay true to yourself and being honest with yourself. Like, do you really want to be in the corporate world? Do you want to be in a more creative field? What, like, by the end of the day, like, we all have to work, we all have to make money and pay bills, but there's so many different ways to make money that you can truly just do whatever you want. Like my best friend, she has her own dog walking business. She went to Sam Houston, has her degree, her bachelor's and everything. She doesn't use it. She now owns her own dog walking business, and it's just like successful business. Like she does amazing, but it just goes to show like she's still in student debt, does nothing with her degree, going to college. I mean, unless you really just want to go to college for the experience, I get it. I had FOMO heavily whenever I dropped out. So I get it if you just want to go more so for the experience, but don't go if you feel like in the long run it's not going to serve you.
Or that definitely appreciate you sharing that. That's good advice, definitely. And yeah, definitely go ahead and drop your socials and tell people where they can find you if they want to work with you, follow your content, book a wedding, any of that stuff.
So I'll just drop like my Instagram. I
Go
don't know
for,
how many people actually have Facebook,
go for
but
it.
my Instagram is at Cameron Alexis Photo. So CamerynAlexis photo. Um, and from there you can find my website, all my pricing, my portfolio, and yeah.
Cool, appreciate it. And definitely, if you're watching this, listening to this, you got anything from it, I appreciate if you give her a follow, give me a like, some of that stuff. If you want to drop a comment, a plant emoji, that's what I'm looking for in the chat. So plant emojis, that'll help with the
Looking for
algorithm
more.
and everything. And appreciate you for coming on. Thank you.